So our first subject is Boris Johnson has said that the UK power grid should be 100% green by 2035. So is that an achievable target? Tessa Khan, to you first of all, do you welcome this target and is it doable?
Yeah, Anna, I mean, in short, it is doable, and it's most certainly the kind of ambition that we desperately need to see from this government. But we can set targets like this until the cows come home. The really important question is whether or not this government puts into place the investments and the policies that are needed to massively scale up our zero carbon energy sources, and just as importantly, to break the lock that fossil fuels currently have on our power supply. And that requires the government to do two things. It requires it to stop giving massive subsidies to oil and gas producers in the UK. So we know that in the last 5 years, since the UK government signed the Paris Agreement on climate change, it's handed out £4 billion in public money to oil and gas producers in the UK. And the other thing it needs to do is it's got to say no to the opening of new oil and gas fields like the Cambo oil field, which it's currently astonishingly considering giving approval to, which will lock us into reliance on fossil fuels for decades to come.
OK, let me get James's reaction. And James, just before you do come back, I just want to show a statistic from last year, from 2020. 43% of Britain's electricity was generated by renewables, so there's a way to go. I did notice you laughing at one point during what Tessa was saying there. So why was that? What's your reaction?
Well, I'm very suspicious of the doctrine that we're really subsidising fossil fuels, but I'll bow to Tessa on that. But she must admit that we are subsidising renewables or intermittent sources of energy supply, which deliver 43% of our power one day and then 2% another day. We're subsidising them a whole lot more. Now, if we're looking at positive solutions, it's pretty obvious that Boris has had a hidden conversion to nuclear power. I'm in favour of that, but we must recognise that Conservative governments and the coalition before them have completely dithered on nuclear power. They've dallied with the Chinese Communist Party. They've drawn up ridiculous contracts in the case of Hinkley Point. They've angered Hitachi, so the Japanese firm pulled out. They've dithered on small modular reactors. And most of the nuclear fleet will be retired by April the 1st, April Fool's Day, on 2024. So if you want to make the targets, you've got to do a lot of investment in nuclear, such as we're unprepared really to make the last few years. Now, I believe they're going to announce 2 more nuclear power stations. Big deal.
OK, Tessa, what's your take on nuclear? Some people say that you need a kind of dependable source of energy for when the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow. What's your take on it?
Well, Anna, there are a number of different scenarios for how we can get to that zero carbon electricity grid by 2035. And the challenge is that if we want to keep costs down, which is a huge concern, obviously, especially in light of the gas price crisis. I mean, new nuclear power plants cost tens of billions of pounds, as Sizewell C will cost, and it'll take another 12 years to build. So that doesn't seem like a great solution, given the other solutions that are ready to scale that are desperately underfunded at the moment.
And cost is important, isn't it, James? Because people are worried about higher bills, for starters, but also people are worried about a transition away from jobs they might have. People in the fossil fuel industry are concerned about losing those jobs.
Well, completely right, and they're right to be concerned. I think what we've got to be very crystal clear here, Anna, which is really when Boris says, you know, oh, I'm so worried about gas prices, in the same breath, he's saying he's going to protect consumers by making gas more heavily taxed so that they shift in a nudge-like fashion to electricity. This, ladies and gentlemen, it's the class war by another means. It will mean more expensive gas cooking and heating for those who retain the old supply. They will be put in a difficult position if his ridiculous targets ever come to fruition. They certainly won't by 2035. You know, the whole opinion in environmental things is people need to lay out more money to be better people for the right kind of clean, so clean, pure energy. And I don't buy it.